Hello everyone, Mr. Beefy here, and I wanted to do a part 2 follow-up of my free comic book day. It's a little bit late, but I've been super busy, but I kind of wanted to show you some of the pulls that I got from free comic book day. One of the ones I was interested in was this EC Comics. The reason I'm kind of interested in it is I don't really collect a lot of EC, but I do have some of them. I kind of like the old horror war comics just as kind of one-offs. So I figured I'd try some of the new stuff out. This had 3 short stories in it from various titles that they're putting out now. And that was, the first story was from Epitaphs from the Abyss, second one Cruel Universe, and then Cruel Kingdom. The first one was kind of about like a vampire. The second one was about like a someone was captured and, put in a gladiator type situation. And the Cruel Kingdom was kind of like a fractured fairy tale type of story. Out of all of them, I like the Cruel Universe the best. The art on the blood type storyline didn't quite seem fitting for me for the type of book it is. But that's just me. But otherwise, pretty good short stories overall. I don't think any of them were bad. I just preferred the second one in it. This one might be my favorite free comic book day, but I'm a huge Conan the Barbarian fan. Been enjoying the newest series from Titan and the Savage Sword of Conan magazine. But the art in this was great, setting up a story that's going to kind of cross over into the Savage Sword of Conan magazine, as well as has its own individual issue as well. And then there's some cool art. But if you have any love of sword and sorcery, and if any of your local comic shops still have this one and you haven't grabbed it, I would grab this one. Then I got some comics more for Junior. I haven't read these, but I have seen Minecraft the manga at Target. But yeah, it's just given like a little chapter from that manga. And then it also has some Beyblade, I believe is how you say it, in it as well. Little preview, good kid comic. Another kid friendly, it's part of a graphic novel. Young Jedi Adventures, I haven't read that either, but art looks pretty cool. Looks like something that Junior would have some fun reading, and that's what comics are all about. So pick that one up for him. Superman's Good Guy Gang. So another preview of a graphic novel coming up. It's always good to get comics in kids' hands, get them reading. So this would be something to check out. Another Spidey's Amazing Friends and Iron Man. These are always pretty fun, it seems. Go over well. And then this one just caught my eye because I thought it was kind of a silly pair-up, but Thundercats and Powerpuff Girls. And yes, they are doing a crossover event to be continued in Thundercats Powerpuff Girls. I have not read this issue yet to see what I thought of it, but I was running out of time and I kind of wanted to get this video done. Now I also got this. They had it in their stack of free comics. However, I don't see any indication it is, so I think this is in case of they had a bunch of an issue 1 from a company and they just put it out as a giveaway. But it's Mosley, and it was actually a pretty interesting read. I didn't know anything about it, but I don't know. I'll maybe check it out a little bit more in the previews, see how far along they are. But it was, I'm glad I picked this one up because it isn't something that would have caught my eye for ordering, but it was interesting enough that I'm going to consider maybe looking and seeing how far along they are and maybe pick up a couple more issues. Then I heard this one was one of the more popular ones that people were looking for, the Energon Universe. I read it. It was pretty good. If you like the G.I. Joe, Transformers, and Void Rivals, that's an easy pickup. If you like any of those, you'll like this. But overall, the story was good. It looks like it's going to be a good kind of jumping on point for everything going on. And then it has a kind of a sillier side story. But overall, this was a pretty good one. I'm not as interested in the G.I. Joe Transformers stuff. but it's not bad. It was pretty good, so I could see why people were looking for this one. And speaking of Transformers, this is the worst spot ever. First appearance of Ballpoint. It's more of a humor book. But it was, you know, if you like silly books, then you would probably like this. If you like more serious Transformers, maybe not. But there was also a Family Force preview in it, in which it's talking about like how fighting monsters and stuff is a family matter. And that's kind of a look at that. And so this is a preview of that title. It started off really strong in my opinion, but then kind of the everyday a journalist stuff kind of took me out of it. It might be worth, you know, it might be something that if I see it in my previews, I might give it a shot, because the first part of it I thought was strong. The second part was maybe a little bit weaker. Next up is Mobile Suit Gundam. It was an okay read. I thought the art could have maybe been, you know, wasn't the biggest fan of it, but overall, if you like Gundam, you'll probably like this. It was just, to me, it was just kind of meh. Not terrible, not great. I do like mechs, but I wasn't a fan. I don't know if it's the art or the bright coloring of it that kind of threw me off, but it was okay. If you like Gundam, you'll probably like it. I find it interesting that what they're advertising is their models and stuff. And then, as far as free comic book days, this is, oh, I'm gonna botch this pronunciation. Kagurabachi. It's basically a preview of a manga, pretty violent. But if you're into that samurai, well, it's not samurai era, but if you're into like samurai sword fighting type stuff, you're probably gonna like this. I didn't hate it, but that's not quite my typical type of story, and I know there's at least 2 volumes of this right now. But if you're kind of big into those sword fighting and don't mind a little blood and gore in your comics, you might check this one out. But that is it for the free comics. Now I'm going to show you some of the hauls I got from the comic shops I went to. I could barely grab them all. Better move those out of the way. But first up here is Rockefeller's #1. I finally found that. I'm becoming a pretty big fan of the Ghost Machine imprint of Image. This one was, I thought, sounded interesting when I found out as a part of that, because it kind of, I don't know if it's going to be similar to Fantastic Four or anything like that, but I read issue 2 of it and I enjoyed it, and here's kind of a preview of some of the art. So I'm excited to read more of Rockefellers to see kind of what it is all about, and it's kind of nice to have the issue 1 to see how we got the issue 2. So I was excited to find that. And then we are obviously Godzilla fans. We have the second volume of Here There Be Dragons, or Here There Be Giants, I guess it's called. We don't have all of volume 1, but I saw this single issue there, figured I'd go ahead and pick it up. Eventually I need to get the trade paperback of it, but this title looks to be a good fun time. I know the second volume was, especially if you're a Godzilla fan. So that's what I got there. And then another single issue of Godzilla War for Humanity. I have a single issue of #1 of this series and didn't really get any more. That was around the time that I just started to pick up Godzilla comics because Junior was interested, but I remember it kind of having this little zany art to it. And so I saw that there at the comic shop and figured I would go ahead and pick it up as well. Looks like there's Manila getting captured. So it looks like it could be some zany fun. And then I started to get Daredevil again, and I enjoyed it so much that at one of the shops I went ahead and tried to get as much of the back stock as I could. So a lot of Daredevil this latest volume. Scotty Young variant cover. But yeah, just a bunch of Daredevil. So once I binge all of these, I will be caught up. And speaking of Ghost Machine, I found some more of Hyde Street, so I just started reading that one, and this should get me caught up in Hyde Street. It's more of your horror type comic. As you can maybe tell from the art, if the glare is not too bad. And then some more comics that kind of remind me of the Archie Turtles Adventures, which were some of the earliest comics I pulled off of the spinner racks when I was a kid. And these would be something that Junior could enjoy as well. And there's the Saturday morning adventures of Turtles. And a one-shot with them and Usagi Yojimbo. Should be fun. And then I picked up a back issue of The Warlord, annual number 4. I haven't read all of the Warlord series. I kind of want to start doing something where I read at least 1 or 2 issues a week because I really enjoyed the early Warlord, especially Mike Grell's art in the early volumes was awesome. I have almost a full run of Volume 1, and this was an issue I was missing from my collection, so I went ahead and picked it up. And then one of the shops also had a local comic writer, and I picked up some things from him. I've actually, Nandor Fox Schaefer is his name, and he's done a few Kickstarters, and I've backed him before. The book was Seasons, and I really enjoyed that, and he had another one that was more short stories. I'm forgetting the name of it right now, but he started a comic called Manchild. And so here's issue 1 and issue 2 of that. But I enjoyed his other stuff, so I figured I would give it a try. Looks like it's fun. He kind of signed it for me. And then he also wrote this one right here, Fabled Offering. Had a couple, it's more of a prestige format, but looked like it could be kind of interesting. I enjoyed the art on that. But yeah, Nandor's a pretty good guy. He's done a few Kickstarters. I know he's planning on doing 1 or 2 more Kickstarters by the end of the year for Volume 3 of his Seasons. So I would encourage you to maybe go check that out. You should be able to find it's not live yet, but you should be able to find it through Kickstarter for when it does go live. And you know, he's going to reprint Volume 1 as well because he has sold out of that completely. But that was kind of cool that a comic shop had a local comic writer. And then another shop was selling some art prints. First one here is of Red Sonja. Thought that was kind of cool. And the second one is of Nightcrawler, and that's by Medina. But yeah, so that was my free comic book day haul. A lot of fun stuff. What were my thoughts of free comic book day overall? For the most part, I like free comic book day. As I said in the other one, though, it was kind of interesting going to 3 different comic shops because the feel was different at all of them. One of the shops was slam-packed, had families, had people, had a lot of people picking stuff off the shelves, trade paperbacks, back issues, kind of like myself. One of the shops wasn't participating in free comic book day at all. Main reason was that they said it's the day that you kind of see certain people only once that year. They come get their free stuff and leave, so they didn't order any free comic book day items. And then the other one was participating as well. It wasn't as busy. That shop wasn't as big of a fan of it either, mainly because, yeah, people just come in on that day alone, grab the free stuff, and walk out. They don't buy a trade. They don't even buy a dollar comic from the dollar bin. And kind of the interesting thing about this experience when going to these shops is the 2 shops that the one that didn't do it at all and the other one that kind of dreads the day are both in the same town, while the one that had a bunch of people slammed was in a different town altogether. So it's kind of interesting to see how a 30 to 40 minute drive difference changes the nature of the day for the comic shops. So if you do ever participate in free comic book day, don't be one of those people that just go grab the free stuff and leave. At least buy something, whether it's big or small. That's, you know, that's up to you. But don't just go into that shop on one day of a year and take the free stuff and leave, because it does cost some money. they are small businesses. So you got to give them a little bit of support for taking the time to order stuff, or what will happen is it'll start becoming like the one shop that doesn't participate in it at all. And really, Free Comic Book Day ought to be a big day of sales for these people. And unfortunately, it isn't for every local comic store. And that isn't necessarily their fault, because I've helped out one of the shops, like I said, and the shop participates in it, but I've helped them on that day, and I've been helping out there for 15 years. And sure enough, there are people that I will only see on Free Comic Book Day, and they will not step into the building until next year's Free Comic Book Day. So that's my PSA on Free Comic Book Day. I like to participate in it, but I also like supporting local comic shops. When I help the comic shop, I'm less of a fan of it because it's a busy day. People just want the free stuff, and they get in the way of the regulars that come in that want to participate and also support the local business. But let me know in the comments how your Free Comic Book Day went. Was there anything special you got and liked? Was there anything you saw that I picked up that you've read or have been reading? But otherwise, I want to thank you for stopping by, and you have a great rest of your day.